everybody, so today I am checking out 5 budget recording interfaces, all under $200. Let's put them on the chopping block. All right, actually I lied, I've got 6 of these to check out, but for some strange reason, people seem to click on odd numbers more than they do even ones. So I've picked up a bunch of these things over the last few years. They've all been kind of sitting on the shelf, and I've been wanting to do this video a while. So thanks to the lockdown, I've now finally got time. Let's get to it. I'm looking for ergonomics, how easy these things are to use on a computer, and sound quality. That's it. Most of these have 2 mic preamps, some of them only have 1, but they can all do a microphone and an instrument input, so you can do amp sims, that kind of thing. So on the chopping block, we've got the Focusrite 2i2, the Art USB Dual Pre, the Behringer UMC 202, holy shit, they need to change that name, the Audient ID4, the Mackie Onyx Blackjack, the M-Audio M-Track 2X2. Now, a bunch of these I used to have kicking around for a number of years. This Art I used to use as a dialogue recorder on film sets. I'd hook this up to a laptop, hook up a couple of mics, and we're good to go. It definitely got the job done. And some of these aren't even available new anymore, like the M-Track. I had this kicking around on my shelf for a couple of years, and honestly, it was obsolete before I got it out of the box. But a number of these, like this Mackie Blackjack, you can pick up on the used market for next to nothing, and they can still have a pretty good value. Anyway, let's see how well these things work and how well they sound. This planet has, or rather had, a problem, which was this. Most of the people living on it were unhappy for pretty much of the time. Many solutions were suggested for this problem, but most of these were largely concerned with the movement of small green pieces of paper, which was odd because on the whole, it wasn't the small green pieces of paper that were unhappy. Anyone who is capable of getting themselves made president should on no account be allowed to do the job. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy also mentions alcohol. It says that the best drink in existence is the Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster, the effect of which is like having your brain smashed out with a slice of lemon wrapped around a large gold brick. In those days, spirits were brave, the stakes were high, men were real men, women were real women, and small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri were real small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri. They wouldn't even lift a finger to save their own grandmothers from the ravenous bug bladder beast of Trawl without orders signed in triplicate, sent in, sent back, queried, lost, found, subjected to public inquiry, lost again, and finally buried in soft peat for 3 months and recycled as firelighters. And we'll be saying a big hello to all intelligent life forms everywhere. And to all the bass players out there, the secret is to bang the rocks together, guys. Okay, latency check. We're using input 1 for the microphone and input 2 for the guitar. There's a pad here, so it's great. You're not going to run into overs, which is really awesome. So let's see how well this plays with an amp sim. Yeah, absolutely no issues there whatsoever. Good job, Behringer. Blackjack, we're about halfway gain here, tons of headroom. Okay, Focusrite, we've got the gain cranked down quite a bit, but we've still got headroom. Audient DI, no problem at all. It looks like we've got a problem with the DI on the Art. It does seem to be peaking out. So that's definitely a no-go for recording guitar DIs because it just squares the signal off, and that is bullshit. Okay, M-Track DI. Okay, so that's great. They all work on the Mac. They all just plug right in and away you go. I think that says a lot about the whole Apple operating system. Now comes the real challenge for the rest of us out there. How well do these things work on a PC? Now, a bunch of these don't even have their own drivers, so I've had to go with the ASIO for All system. Let's see how some of this older hardware works out on Windows 10. All right, so we got the M-Track hooked up to my slick audio production laptop. I've had this thing for a couple months now. It's an absolute fucking beast. It's probably the best laptop I've ever owned. Lots of good things to say about us. Can't say as many good things about the M-Track though. Got it set for 64 samples of latency. And although it's not showing up in the recordings, real-time monitoring is crackling like crazy. We have to push the slider back all the way to 1024 samples to get the crackling to stop, which means it's completely fucking useless to play amp sims through. So as far as I'm concerned, the M-Audio M-Track 2X2 is a complete and total piece of shit. Okay, we got the Mackie Onyx Blackjack going through ASIO for All. This doesn't have its own native Windows drivers, so that kind of bites. But at 64 samples, it seems to be okay. We maybe got one or two pops and clicks. I'm at 72 samples of latency right now. Anyway, seems to be a massive improvement over the M-Audio, that's for sure. Okay, we got the USB dual pre from Art. Surprisingly, we're at 64 samples of latency. I don't hear a single crackle in real-time monitoring, so that's actually pretty cool. It's just a real shame that the direct input doesn't work so well on guitar. Okay, so we're back on the Behringer 202. I gotta say, the drivers on this thing for PC are absolutely freaking stellar. I am running at 8 whole samples of latency without any crackling, pops, or anything whatsoever. This thing is running like an absolute champ. So far, this has been very, very impressive with everything I've thrown at it. Good job, Behringer. Focusrite 2i2 running 16 samples of latency into Reaper, installing the drivers was no problem whatsoever. There's a reason why Focusrite has such a great reputation with the home recording crowd. Their shit just works. Audient ID4 drivers installed with absolutely no problem whatsoever, running 16 samples of latency and no glitches in playback or real-time monitoring at all. Killer stuff. All right, so what do I think? I gotta say, the one that really surprised me out of all of them was this Behringer unit. I thought the preamp sounded great. I love the fact that there's pads on the front here. That just makes life so much simpler, especially when you need to clamp down on a very loud signal. Absolutely no problems with Mac or PC. Wow, I'm very, very impressed with this. I know Behringer tends to get shit on quite a bit, but this thing is a total winner. Focusrite 2i2, this is the second generation one. There was a lot of problems with the first generation one with guitars with, loud pickups kind of clipping the signal. You couldn't get it quite enough. They definitely took steps on this. They've now got a third generation on this, and I can only imagine it's even improved on top of this design. But again, rock solid from Focusrite, no problems whatsoever. The Art Dual Pre. First and foremost, I hate the fucking purple on black. It's kind of hard to read for a guy like me who's partially colorblind. The volume knobs on the back, once you start hooking connectors into here, they're very hard to reach, and overall it's a giant pain in the ass. And you can't record guitar with it without clipping the signal, so that kind of sucks ass as well. I do like the fact that it's light and you can bring it out into the field because it's got a 9-volt power supply. So if you're doing microphones in the field with this, that's absolutely fine. Just don't try recording any direct guitars with it because it's not gonna fucking work. Mackie Onyx Blackjack. I was kind of surprised it took that much gain to get an SM7B going on this. I had to crank it all the way. Mackie's marketing hype when they came up with the Onyx preamps tried to make it sound like it was the second coming of affordable mic pre's and this was going to be the big thing. Kind of disappointed with the amount of gain on this thing, to be honest with you. The fact that there's no PC driver support really blows as well. If you're on a Mac system and you're using a MacBook and you want to do some field recording, this would probably be absolutely fine. I'd kind of say give it a pass on a PC though. The nice thing is, though, you can pick these things up dirt cheap on the used market, so there is that. And it is a rock-solid metal construction, so it will be roadworthy. And ergonomically, this one's the best of the bunch because it sits on an angle on your desktop. The controls are really easy to read and get to, so good job there. Now, I gotta say, this one is the biggest disappointment out of all of them. It's about twice the size of the ID4 with the same functionality, except, you gotta really crank the preamps over. And it's It's just goofy. And the fact of the matter is, if you're a PC user, for me anyway, what really pissed me off was the fact that it was obsolete before I even got it out of the box. It's just been sitting there on the shelf for the last couple of years. Go to load it up. Oh, great, no Windows 10 drivers. Fuck you. So yeah, you're forced to use third party, and they're crackly. If you're a PC user, avoid the M Audio shit like the plague. Now, this really pisses me off because when I started out in the early 2000s, I had a pair of M Audio Delta 1010s, and they ran like fucking champs. You know, this was even before we got USB sound interfaces. These things used cards. But I gotta say to M Audio, I'm really glad you're not selling this anymore, because it's a gigantic piece of shit for the PC users out there. Shame on you. You should have fucking supported this. Hopefully your new offerings will have better support and you won't just fucking abandon it. If you're on a Mac system, you could probably get by with it, but if you're on a PC, do not buy this fucking piece of garbage. No, don't do it. And lastly, I gotta say, this one impressed me the most. This is the ID4. Ergonomically, it's great. It's really easy to get to the controls. They feel great. The volume knob is detented, and it's got this little push button for a dim function. So if you're listening to playback, somebody says something, and just hit that, you can carry on your conversation, hit it again, away you go. That's fucking cool. That's unique out of all of these. The only downside is there's only one mic preamp, but you can run the mic preamp and the guitar direct in discreetly. So if you're not doing more than one mic, it's fine. They do have a 2 mic pre version of this thing, but it's a few more bucks. So keep that in mind. If I'm going out in the field to record something, yeah, I'd probably want to use this because it's just so tiny and it's rock solid metal construction. And this will fit in a gig bag or a camera bag or whatever, and it will definitely do the job. So I gotta say, this one was my particular favorite. Oh yeah, and the preamps are the same ones you'll find in their giant freaking consoles, like the one we installed last year. So yeah, stellar signal path, stellar quality, great job audio. Absolutely love this thing. All right, so there you go. That is 6 budget recording interfaces, all for under $200 US. I'll have links in the description for the ones that you can still buy new. And the other ones you can find on eBay. Should be no problem to pick up any number of these things because they were produced in massive quantities. And if you need a cheap field recorder, it's a great way to save some cash. Thanks for watching. If you found the video useful, hit that fucking subscribe button because it really helps out a massive amount. So until next time, stay home, stay safe, and we'll all get through this.